celebrate and have fun. No time to wait. Open up your mind with markers, pencils, or paints. Hear what they have made. Savannah, Russell, and Jane with a podcast just for you. It's time for Fan Brush. Artists with a lot to say. It's Fan Brush. Listen, it'll make your day.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little bit of lag on your video.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Like I can still hear you, but there's still the lag. Like I'll hear you first, and then your lips will move.
That's weird. It seems normal to me. So.
Oh, now it's caught up. At first,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like that disconnect where you have to turn off your phone or computer whenever you're watching YouTube because the noise and the mouths don't sync up. That's horrible. I hate that crap.
Sorry.
Especially whenever there's like a loud bang and a scream, and then the people react. Bang, scream.
I like your dramatic
Reenactment of.
It was awesome.
Oh no, I am scared. Run away. Up the stairs and not out the front door to the car to escape the man with the hatchet.
You know what, Russell? Can you just rewatch all the scary movies that I don't want to watch and then just reenact them for me so I don't have to be scared? Like, I can still know what happens in them and I get to talk to people about them, but I won't have to experience them like firsthand. That'd be great.
Maybe that can be content for the YouTube channel. It's just like one of us watches the movie and then tries to reenact it with the other two, not knowing what the hell's going on.
That would also be great.
That also sounds like a headache.
Are we already recording?
Oh yeah, I hit record a long time ago.
Oh, okay. I guess one of us should say welcome to the podcast, specifically the Fan Brush podcast.
Which
Ta-da.
brand?
Jade. I guess I want to bump the computer. Should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah.
Or not, guess who's who.
Hi, this is Savannah.
This is Jade.
And I'm your fairy godmother, bitch. I'm Russell.
He daylights as a fairy godmother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is the Fan Brush Podcast.
Hi. Welcome.
Hi. And I apologize ahead of time because I am like sleep deprived also. So this will be fun because I'll be loopy. I already
I am also sleep deprived, but I have to tell you what happened, and you have to believe me what happened to me last night.
You have a 50-50 chance, but continue.
Okay, so I woke up in the middle of the night, right? Just standard, like, you just wake up for whatever reason. So I woke up, and I happened to be turning over, and I was facing my door. And as I faced my door, I swear to God, it opened by itself.
I don't like this.
Totally, yeah, just totally opened by itself. It was the freakiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, that apartment is kind of old. I mean, it's got a good chance of being haunted.
I mean, I'm assuming it is now because I swear to God, I heard my doorknob turn and everything. Like, it was spooky. And it's not the first time it's happened either. Because I woke up in the middle of the night not too long ago and my door was open. And there was no reason for it to be open because my roommate wasn't awake. She didn't look in my room. Like, there was no reason for it to be open. So my door's just been opening by itself at night.
So, like, what do you do? Like, what's your plan for that? Do you, like, get up and close the door? Or do you get up and check it out? Or do you just, like, go back to bed?
So I do the stupid white people thing in horror movies where I got up to check it out and I looked, I opened my door and looked down the hallway and there's nothing there. And then I just shut the door and was just like, whatever, if there's a ghost, I'm too tired to deal with this. So, so I just shut the door and went back to sleep.
I just have this thought of like Jade's apartment turning into an actual horror movie and Jade just being like so apathetic and tired of like the ghost bullshit and just being like, are you done?
Right. That's quite enough.
I feel like that's a more realistic interpretation of what would actually happen. Because I know the one time that I thought, like, we stayed in that bed and breakfast up in Connecticut, and I was like, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard a baby crying, and I had read like earlier that the house, like, it used to be like the nursery, like that room that I was staying in. Like I literally like woke up, heard the baby crying, and I was like, and I went back to bed.
Yeah, like it's such, I think it's one of those things where like you're like, I'll deal with how creepy this is in the morning. Like I'm just not, I'm way too tired to even fucking deal with this right now.
Well, I'm like, what are you supposed to do? Like, what are you
Right.
supposed to do? Like, if it was an actual person in your house, okay, get up, get your gun or your knife or whatever and fight back. But, like, what do you do against ghosts? Nothing. And, like, if watching the limited amount of horror movies has taught me anything, you don't fucking interact with them.
Right. Yeah.
Like
And my roommate, she asked me, she goes, you want me to bring a Ouija board home? And all I texted back was, do you want demons? Because that's how you get demons.
Yeah, let's not escalate the situation. Let's de-escalate. Let's just everybody just go back to bed. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. It's totally fine. Whatever.
I don't know how else to put this, but no.
So what's our topic today, Savannah?
So our topic today is art in protest. So like we picked this because there is a lot of awesome art coming out of this really horrible situation, all the protests that have been going on. And like, I know it's like nothing new to like have art as like a form of protest, which I think is like so cool and so powerful. So that is the topic today.
You know, I did a little bit of research. I am unfortunately not the type of person that's going to dive in and do like a lot of research just for a podcast because I'm terrible. But I did dive into it, and there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. You know, I looked at, you know, them painting Black Lives Matter on the street, and even found a Picasso painting that I didn't even know was considered protest art or anti-resistance art, that Guernica, I think is what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah. Done in, I think they said it was like in the 1930s or whatever. So I'm really bad at history, so I don't know what war that was. I'm assuming that was World War II, right?
I could look it up on Wikipedia real quick, but it was done earlier in the 19th century. Wait, is that right? Or 20th century? 20th century. It was done earlier in the 1900s.
There you go. Saved it.
Hey, go me. Pablo Picasso painted Guernica at his home in Paris in response to the bombing of Guernica, a county town in northern Spain, by northern Germany and fascist Italy at the request of Spanish nationalists. Upon completion, Guernica was exhibited at a Spanish display at the 1937 Paris International Exposition. The painting soon became famous and widely acclaimed, and it helped bring worldwide attention to the Spanish Civil War. And it's one of the most critically acclaimed and famous anti-war paintings.
There's actually a lot. There's a lot. Like I started like researching it. It was almost like too much to go into, which just goes to like prove that like it's a valid form of protest and people have been doing it for like a really long time.
Additionally, there's actually in the research that I was doing, I don't know if you came across it too, Russell, but they actually have a place called the Center for the Study of Political Graphics. And it's specifically for resistance art and, you know, anti-war, resistance, protest. And this is me quoting Wikipedia. I believe it's Wikipedia. And it says it's an archive that currently contains more than 85,000 posters and has the largest collection of post-World War II social justice posters in the United States and is the second largest collection in the world.
Wow.
Where's that at?
And that center is in Los Angeles, California.
That's cool. I'm going to put that on the list for whenever I go back to LA. So like, yeah, I was researching a little bit. I didn't really get into like specific pieces of art. I was looking at different artists and stuff like that, but really like I was just trying to, you know, in my head, like form some kind of a hypothesis of like what like makes art such a powerful like protest tool. Like what is it about art as opposed to like, you know, there's so many different forms of protests. You know, people will go and they'll march or they'll like sit in or whatever, you know, write your congressman or whatever. But like there's something about like art, maybe because art's such a rebellious act anyway, you know, you kind of have to be a rebel to make art because it's not something that is done by normal people. Just, you know, when you're making art, I feel like there's always some kind of resistance to you making it, whether it comes from your family or from society or something like that, because it's not seen as like a legitimate thing by a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I was trying to wrap my head around that. I'm just like, you know, maybe just by its very nature, like art is rebellion, and so it's just that's what lends it, like makes it such a powerful, and like it's almost like it was made for that. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like that's what it's for.
Well, and also with art, it's such a visual expression that you can use colors too to kind of suggest certain things. Like, for instance, I've heard that, you know, a lot of fast food joints use a lot of warmer colors in their decorations because supposedly warmer colors make you eat more. So I think that there's probably, you know, a link between certain colors that they might use in order to convey a certain point when you're making protest art.
I think you're right there. I think that too, like, I mean, just the visual language, I think people really like respond to that in an emotional way, whether they like know it or not, whether they can put words to it or not. I think that's another thing that art and protest art has going for it, especially in like these cases where I know that here in Dallas, after some of the protests, Deep Ellum was like boarded up and with like just plywood and stuff, a lot of the windows on the businesses down there.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like really quick. Like that was one of the first things that happened, was people were really quick to pick up paint and just start painting on them. And like, yeah, it was really cool.
So metal.
It is. And
It's just metal as fuck.
It is. And it's like, what a cool like way to turn something so negative and so like just a bummer and just like make something beautiful, but at the same time like say something with your art
and making it mean something.
Yeah,
because whenever you do stuff like that, like whenever businesses board up and stuff and they're protecting themselves from a potential riot from a peaceful protest, that's a sign of like turning your back on like what's going on. Like you acknowledge it, but you're turning away from it. And like I understand protecting your business and stuff, but it's also great kudos to the artist being like, you will not look away, because by the time it is safe for you to take down these boards, you're going to have to look at this art again. You're going to have to see the message that I put on here whenever I wasn't in a high emotional state. And I think that's one of the great things about protest art and the art that comes from protest in those emotional states, whether it's during protests like Black Lives Matter, or you're protesting something else in your own life and you're in that emotional state as an artist, putting that stuff out there and having people see it and being like, this was an actual point in my life and this is what came out of it. And I will not let you look away.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And you know what's funny too, is you don't always have to be necessarily protesting something that's, you know, as palpable and heavy as, you know, Black Lives Matter or any other kind of protest. I actually had an art teacher and he was my favorite art teacher ever. And he would sew these luchador masks. Ooh. And he would take the luchador masks and he would put them over the different statues around Dallas. And he was basically, all he wanted to do was to make people look at those sculptures again. Because when you see those sculptures so often, you kind of let them fade into the background. Well, he wanted to pull them into he wanted to draw you back in to look at them again. Oh. So the police kept trying to arrest him for it, but they never had anything for it because he technically wasn't defacing them. All he was doing was putting a mask on them. So he was so cool. He was the coolest art teacher I've ever had.
It was enhancing their faces, not defacing.
Yes.
Well, in a way, he was kind of defacing.
He was a little bit, but it was fixable very instantly. So,
did you get the fun? What, Savannah?
I got it, because he put a mask to their face. He's defacing. I got it.
Oh, okay.
I have a question for you guys. Have you ever like made anything that you would consider like protest art, like in your own personal art? Even if you're just like protesting something in like your own personal life.
I actually it was actually a quote. I can't remember if it's from a song or if it was from an album cover or whatever, but it was basically, I just used it was kind of like calligraphy, like brush calligraphy almost. So it wasn't really, like a subject matter or anything, but all it said was starved to death in a land of plenty.
Ooh,
That's about as protesty as I got.
Since I'm an abstract painter, like a lot of my protest art comes from a very abstract feeling, and it's just the emotion that I have at that time. And at one point, whenever I was painting, I just felt like I was kept getting thrown back into the crucible and like being pressured and all this stuff. And it's just like, why am I like going through these things in life? And it was just really, really difficult. And I remembered this quote that somebody had told me, and it was, make the stumble part of the dance. And it was just like, I feel like I'm being tossed back into the fire. So I painted fire, which is one of my favorite things to paint. Fire. And I painted a dancer in the middle of it. And it was just like, if I'm going to be in the flames of change and I'm going to be going through this process that feels like I'm hurting in, I'm going to revel in it. I'm going to revel in the change. I'm going to revel in the fire, and you're going to watch me dance. And so it's a slight outline of a dancer in fire. And it's done on wood, and it's 4 feet by 4 feet.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, see, yours is a lot more protesty than mine. Mine's not even my own original quote, so.
Well, like, if you're still like taking the quote and stuff and you're doing something with it, it's still your original art. You're just stealing like an artist.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what about you, Savannah? What's the most protesty piece of art you've ever done?
Oh my gosh. I should have had this answer before I asked the question, huh?
Don't like it when it's aimed at you, do you?
I feel like I haven't done anything like that since high school, and I'm trying to think. I think most of them were sketches, because I always felt like whenever I had those like really heavy, hot emotions like that, I felt like I had to go fast, and so I always did stuff in like charcoal or pencil or stuff like that. Because like I think it was just a lot of rage in my own personal situation, and I was just protesting my own personal situation like an angsty teenager, I remember like one thing I always remember about the art that I did that was like that. There was two things. Like the people, I would always draw people, they would never have eyes, and they would always be like super elongated, like way too tall. Like I knew, and on purpose.
Slenderman?
Kinda. I mean,
Savannah's art is Slenderman. No, wait, Savannah's protest art is Slenderman.
Basically, yeah, it was always.
Maybe you need to go to protests and have that Slenderman like right behind you and be like, look out, white boys.
Ugh, I'm good. Why does it always come back to the horror stuff for me? I'm just like, I don't like it.
You don't have to like it to summon it.
You're welcome to come spend the night in my room.
No thanks.
Okay. I'll be there in 4 hours.
Woo!
It'll be a sleepover. We're going to make new friends with this paranormal.
Ghost friends.
Ghost friends.
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
That's what the title of this episode should be, is Ghost Friends.
I will
Maybe
say
you
that
should get your ghost friends to go protest.
I'll tell them to do that instead of opening my door at night.
Maybe that's them coming back from the protest being like, man, that was great. She's in my bed. What is she doing there?
Or maybe they're protesting me sleeping. Like I dare to sleep.
Get up. It's time to hang out. Play with me, Jade.
I was going to say too, while I was researching the protest art, one of the most impactful images that I came across was definitely like the photographs, especially stuff that from the 60s and 70s. Because I mean, like back then, it wasn't like you had a camera in your pocket like we do now. So it's just like these people intentionally went out there and they're photographing with film, which is crazy to me because it's like you got to get it perfect. You don't even know what you have with the camera. And I mean, they're capturing like they're candid shots of people like, police violence and people being drug away and just all kinds of crazy crap. And like, I'm so grateful to those people who went out there And I'm grateful to people now too who are out there like taking pictures of everything that's going on. I think that like a lot of the images that are being captured now, those are going to become iconic, like the ones from the 60s that you see.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that to me is another like great example of the protest art that comes out of protest. It's a documentation of what's going on, but to me it's also art. To me there's like almost no better way of capturing like the mood and the expression of something than actually capturing the expressions of people that are in that situation.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, because going back to Guernica, like in and not my brain's starting to die. Fudge.
This is
It's that
it.
point.
We're going loopy. I told you it was gonna happen.
Grandpa's old. Because art back then and earlier before photography was so prevalent and widespread, like you had to rely on artists to tell the stories of these impactful situations that probably aren't really talked about. And until you have this painting that comes by that has that raw emotion and captures this moment where it's just like, this is what was happening in the world. And these are the injustices that we faced, is when the rest of the world sees it and goes, oh, okay. And now like we have photos. And I think both now are still prevalent and stuff, because like further on from now and stuff, like we're going to go back, we're going to see the photos. And from there, like people from now till when they die, I hope that they make some great art about their experience being there and what they saw, what they felt, and do it in interesting and different styles. Because that also is what pushes the envelope of like new art styles and breaks molds and makes people want to at least try that style.
Well, and and there's also, you'll have those artistic movements throughout history, and then it always seems to bring up, like you had Dada art, and then after that you had neo-Dada art. So it's almost like art kind of is cyclical, just like history is, and that you'll have these really, really special art movements that happen. And then, 10, 20, 30 years later, you'll have this revival of it. All these new art styles and stuff that are coming out now, whether it's illustration, whether it's, charcoal, whether it's acrylic paint, oil paint, all of that, they all are going to have this cyclical effect and come back on each other. And it's just going to be really interesting to see, 10, 20, 30 years from now during these protests, like what kind of art, what kind of art styles might end up coming back. I think that'll be really interesting to see as well.
Guys, get a chance to see any like, or did you come across any like the graffiti and stuff?
Oh yeah. I'm surprised. Damn it! Why haven't we talked about graffiti art yet? And we're sitting here talking about protest art.
It's coming. We'll talk about graffiti art for sure. But I just in the vein of like protest art, I think it's great that they're utilizing graffiti, and I realize that, it's illegal, like especially like what's going on up in Washington. They're like spray painting like government buildings and shit like that. But you know what? I'm here to say I'm for it. Like, because it's illegal, but to me it's not wrong. It keeps the message there even when the people who are protesting can't be there. You know what I mean? And like they can wash it away, but they'll put it back. And it's just like, I just think it's such a cool way to like protest without actually having to be present. It's just there. It's just a reminder. It's part of the landscape now. It's there.
Yeah, because like if you do not listen when things are peaceful and nice and you choose to ignore, like people are going to get angry. And I had a moment like that. That's not necessarily like kind of tied into this, but it has some parallels. There's some parallels. Like over the past few years and stuff, I've had moments of feeling invisible whenever I'm passionate about something and I want to share it with other people. But there's been a few people in my life, you two included, that have helped battle that. But there's been times where it's just kind of like, hey, I'm really interested in this thing and trying to be a part of the group and buy into the conversation. And it feels like I just get ignored and invisible. And if you continue to do that to people whenever they are peaceful, they are going to retaliate in angry, violent ways. And then if you reply back in an equal angry and violent way, it's just kind of like, all right, cool, we're going to go around in the circle until one of us dies. And if you continue to ignore people whenever they're saying that they're hurt and they're marginalized, that they want a better life, they want things to improve, you ignore them, like, go ahead, graffiti all you want. Like,
yeah.
I think I did that. I'm trying to remember high school because at one point we stood on the corner to have like a little mini protest of like 5 of us from high school making our own like equality, gay rights signs and stuff. And we stood out there for about like 30 minutes to an hour. And just us just like holding up signs. It was just like, yay, gay people. And I think everybody in life has had a moment where like they want to be heard, but they're just not. Like, look at children and stuff. If they're trying to share their life with you and have a moment with you and you continue to ignore them, eventually they're going to scream until they get your attention. And if it's something dire, like they've hurt themselves, but you're too busy like on the phone or doing something else, and they're just like, hey, I need you. If they scream and you get angry, that's kind of on you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, it really upsets me when I hear these people that are just like, oh yeah, it's fine, they can protest. I just wish they would do it peacefully. And I'm like, they've been doing it peacefully. I was like, do you know how long like all this stuff has been an issue and nothing's gotten done? It's like that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's like, of course they're not going to keep doing the same thing. Of course eventually stuff is going to escalate it. For the most part, honestly, it seems like it hasn't been violence. It's been graffiti and art and things like that. Like, for the most part, it feels like people are just trying to express themselves in different ways. I'm going to say, but I'm also kind of like anti-authority anyway, just from my age. That's just in me. But I'm just like, you know what? If it takes breaking a couple of windows to get people's attention, go for it. Like, I'm for it. I'm not saying it's right, but it's like, what are they supposed to do? What are people supposed to do? Like, you tell me what we're like people are supposed to do to get people's attention. Because peacefully protesting hasn't worked.
There's been things like the X-Men for years talking about equality and how awful it is to treat somebody who's different than you with violence and genocide. And I love the Marvel universe. I love comic books. I love books that talk about these difficult things, about people challenging status quo and having like such an inclusive range of people that you tell these different stories. I love that. And I love that that has like inspired so many people to like take these different icons from nerddom to be like, this is a figure of the resistance, like Princess Leia, who's just like resist. And you've got like Princess Leia, Wonder Woman, other ones that just slip my mind at the moment that are like strong characters of marginalized people that these people are like taking and being like, yes, this is, even if it is a fictional character, like it is an icon in fighting for what is actually right and what showing love to other people and what it means to stand up and defend the weak. Because plus with books like Hunger Games and Mistborn and like these others that are about like overthrowing tyrannical government for the betterment of all people, and then you get upset whenever we start to do that to things that we see as tyrannical.
You know what's funny is like the comic books and the books that you described, I would consider them also protest art. You know?
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to talk about whenever you're just like, look up your favorite protest art and stuff. And I started doing my research and I was just like, X-Men. I'm going to talk about X-Men.
It's true. And yeah, you brought
up but just so you know, X-Men, it was supposed to say that you should embrace people the way that they are, even if they're different. That was the main reason why Stan Lee made X-Men. That when they were created to try and teach people to be more sympathetic and to be more welcoming of people, even though they have differences, be it, you know, if they're differently abled or if they're, you know, a different color than you, you know, it doesn't matter. You should accept them for the people that they are. And, you know, and that you shouldn't be afraid of them.
Even if they have useless superpowers like Jubilee.
Excuse me.
No, she's my favorite. I just want people to accept her. You know this.
Okay, but technically the most useless superpower is from Speedball because he had these like magical like balls that would, I don't know, I can't remember if they like come from his hands or whatever, but they were like magical bouncing balls or something. I don't know. So I think Speedball probably has the most useless superpower.
Dude, he has a full like productive career as like a children's entertainment. Like he has do birthday parties and shit. Like, what are you talking about? It's probably the most lucrative superpower you could probably.
They could just set him up in like a bowling alley somewhere, and
There
the
you
kids
go.
could give him a quarter for a bouncy ball or whatever.
Here's your magical bouncy ball, kid.
You're welcome.
Next.
I mean,
Here's your magical bouncy ball, kid. Next.
I love that he's like already jaded, and he's only been there for like maybe 2 months, and he's already ready to just die.
Hey kid, you can keep the quarter. Just kick me in the shin so I can feel something. Thanks. Here's your
I
magical
don't want
bouncy
to.
ball. Oh.
Well, now that we've officially gone off topic, I guess maybe this might be a good place to wrap it up, since we've gone completely off topic.
I could still talk about X-Men and what it means as like a creator who like, because also as a writer myself, like a lot of get back on topic. Welcome back to the train ride. We're back on the rails. Toot toot. Like X-Men has been a big influence in my life about, like you said earlier, Jake, it's just like differences of people, because I think it's one of the first things that I was really into that had such a diversity element to it, where everybody, like not just their superpowers, but their backgrounds, their skin color, their orientation, like all of these people are different in one way or another, and they work together in their team. And as I grew up and like went through life, like I realized that was kind of the same thing in my life, like having all of these different people around me, and it's great. And that's something that I want to kind of continue to do with my own writing and the stories that I tell, of having different people from different lifestyles and different races, colors, creeds, working together, even if there's infighting, because sometimes that drama is cool or good for story. It may not be cool, but it's good for story. There we go. But yeah, like, and that's also another form of protest, is like telling stories, because that was like, even in the Bible, that's what Jesus's form of protest towards the Pharisees, King Herod, and the Roman Empire was him telling stories, making these parables and these allegory similarities to the society and what was going on. Why the Pharisees were just like, you need to stop that. You're like undermining our control of the people. Quit it. He's like, no, maybe you should try to like love one another. Like, you know, like I love this prostitute. Yeah, man. And so like, I think because people are still going to read X-Men and stuff, and I hope that in coming issues and stuff, they tackle stuff like Black Lives Matter and how it affects like the Marvel universe, and having situations like that. I think that would be really cool, and would love to see what they do moving forward. As a writer myself, like it just shows me how important having that representation of people and the trials and tribulations they go to, how important that is. And also to give them victory too.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I was so happy. Like, I mean, just look at how far Black Panther went.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, as far as now, obviously, I'm not a person of color, so I can't really comment on that kind of stuff, really. But I thought that it was really great for something like Black Panther to come along, so that children of color can have their own superhero to look up to. That's not, you know, super white Captain America and super white Thor and super white, you know, Black Widow and all of that. Like, there's actually more representation there for them, and I thought that was really great too. And I'm really glad that movie was so successful.
Yes. To bring it to one of your favorites, Umbrella Academy, and the diverse cast of badasses they have there.
Oh yes, God! Please don't get me started on Umbrella Academy. We'll be here all day. We'll be here all day.
I haven't seen the second season yet.
I won't tell you anything that happens, but it's great.
Okay.
So that kind of brings up a question. Savannah, how do you feel about seeing Diego on screen?
Yeah, it's really cool. I think that anytime I see somebody who is representative of my culture, or like I've talked to Bryce about this a lot. It's just like not necessarily Diego, but there have been other characters where I'm just like, man, I wish I had seen that when I was a little girl. You know what I mean? Like seeing like even just women in cinema. I remember when I saw Wonder Woman, I was like, holy shit, dude. Do you realize how powerful this is? I'm talking about the scene where at the beginning of the movie where they're training with each other and just like kicking ass. And I'm talking about like girls who are like not afraid to be like muscly and like ripped.
Dude, it was so hot. It was like the hottest thing ever.
And
I'm not even part of the LGBT community, but I was just like, these women are giving me some feelings, and I have not felt them before.
Hello, Jade. This is your sexual awakening.
Dude, for sure. If I was ever gonna wake up one day and discover that I'm gay, it would definitely be for some of those women, because seriously.
But I mean, too, also the whole women working with other women together, like sisterhood thing, that really doesn't happen most of the time. You know, there's that whole, I can't remember the name of it, but there's like that movie test about like if it's like a woman and she's not like a love interest and there's more than one woman in a scene. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look it up.
Test?
I always forget because it is like a weird. But there's like a test that movies, you can like ask like a couple of questions, and it's like, how many women are in a movie? How many women have a name? Like how many characters have a name? How many times are two women in the same scene together? And you know, like how many lines does a woman have where they're not talking about like the love interest?
That's right, because the original trilogy of Star Wars fails that test.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. There's a lot of movies that you wouldn't think would fail the test, but actually really do. Wonder Woman's not like that. I mean, they talk, they strategize, they fight. It's women just being people. And it's like, it shouldn't be like an epiphany, but it kind of is in Hollywood and movies and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think of a really strong female Hispanic character. And I know there's been some in recent history, but I'm trying to think.
It should not be this hard for three people to come up with somebody like that.
Well, I feel like Hispanic women are underutilized, especially in that kind of a role. Historically, we're shown as like sex symbols.
Sex symbols and the help.
Basically. Yeah. So unfortunately it is really hard for me to come up. But I can name some of my favorite actresses, like Rosario Dawson, America Ferrera, and what's her name? But see,
what is her name?
Yeah, I don't know. But even like,
she's my favorite.
To be married to one of the Spurs. It was a while ago. The San Antonio Spurs.
Oh,
yeah, I follow sports.
Huh? Oh,
yeah, like
she was in Across the Universe. She played the sexy nurse.
Oh, that girl. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now, but I don't know her name either.
Oh, dang. She hasn't been in movies in a while, but that's the thing is like I was about to mention her, but then I remembered, she played the sexy nurse, because she also got cast a lot. Even though she's like a powerful woman and she got cast a lot of main roles, a lot of times she was cast as like the sex symbol, the seductress. That's how Hispanic women are portrayed, unfortunately. So yeah, I would really, really love to see a Hispanic female badass, but I like right now there might be like one or two, but even right now I'm having trouble thinking of them. So sorry guys, have to leave me out of that. There are Hispanic male badasses.
Yes.
Say that. But I feel like maybe that lends to the fact that they just have a history of having that macho attitude, so it lends itself really well to being a badass. There's a character in the new Cyberpunk video game that's coming out. Have you guys seen the trailers for that at all?
Cyberpunk 2077?
Yeah.
Okay. That was a shot in the dark. Yeah.
Way to go, Russell. One of the main characters, I can't even remember his name, but
Keanu Reeves?
No. He's like your character, like he's like a guide for your character, and I want to say his name is Diego, but I know that's not right. It's just because you said it, but he's a real badass, and I'll know his name once I play the game. I've only seen a couple of the trailers, but yeah, sorry. It's like I'm trying to like stall for time to think of some Hispanic badass female character, but I really can't. I'm sorry.
I'm also trying to think, because I know that there's some that are in voice acting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like She-Ra. If you have not watched that, you two watch She-Ra. It is great.
It's on my
list. Then watch it. I said watch it. because it's got a wide variety of representation in there and different because it is a fantasy world, so different people have kind of like coded feels to them. Like there's one girl that like to me comes off very much as a Hispanic girl, and I think she is voiced by a Hispanic person. And in voice acting, like there's a lot of the Latin community that is in voice acting, and I think that's great. But yeah, like it should not be so hard to come up with somebody who is of the Latin community that is a female character that kicks butt and takes names and isn't a caricature of the culture.
Yep.
Like,
and I would like to throw JLo out there, but like the last movie I saw her in, and not to say it wasn't a good movie, it was a great movie. She was in that movie Hustlers. Did you guys see that?
I did not.
Well, I mean, she plays a powerful woman, but she's like a stripper. Like that's her whole shtick, you know. And she like takes this little baby stripper under her wing, and they like con men out of their money. So I mean, it just plays into that whole like, you know, sex symbol stereotype that Hispanic women have. And I liked the movie, and like for what it was great. But like it just doesn't do anything for me as far as that whole like, hey, I want to see a strong female Hispanic character that, you know, I can put my fantasy onto. So I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know when it happens. Maybe in another 2 years or so. I mean, to be fair, like maybe I'm asking too much because I feel like just now women are starting to get their voices on screen. So that's it's gonna be a second.
Yeah, because there's that movie Old Guard on Netflix that has like a full cast of women being badasses. I'm probably gonna watch that. I'll watch that this weekend and I'll get back to you and see if there is a strong Hispanic female in there. There might be.
You never know.
Maybe Carmen Sandiego, isn't she technically Hispanic in the new show? But
No, I never thought about it, but you know what? I stand that.
I want a wide brim fedora. I want that Carmen Sandiego hat so much.
When's your birthday?
December 7th.
All right.
We'll add it to the list, Russell. We'll both get you a fancy hat for Christmas.
I just have this like horrible thought of like it being like one of those like clown hats with all like the shit on it.
I'm not
just
gonna
being
get you a clown hat for Christmas. What kind of friend do you think I am? I'd be calling you a clown. That's not right.
A good friend that also likes jokes.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna get you a clown hat. It's gonna be a fancy hat so that you can be fancy.
Perhaps with a feather.
Yes, definitely with a feather.
Ooh, like those what the Cavalier hats at the Ren Festival that we went to right before lockdown. Oh, those leather hats were so sexy.
Oh, I know the ones you're talking about. They are sexy.
Yes. So the weekend right before quarantine, Bryce and I surprised Savannah with yours truly, me, and we went to a Ren fair, and there were those really awesome, very expensive leather hats with the feather. Those were cool. They did match my outfit. Anyway, we're not talking about protest art anymore. We're talking about hats.
Yeah, we probably should wrap it up.
We're getting close to an hour. But I guess
All right.
Kudos to anybody who's out there that's protesting, that's making art, and hopefully moving forward, we can see more representation so that way we don't have to have such intense protests. Because if those people are like saying like, hey, we want equality like white people have, let's just get there.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do that through art. Art can help.
Yeah, art can definitely help.
How have y'all's personal art journeys been this past week? What have y'all been working on?
Well, I already sent you guys a picture of the painting that I just finished. It was that sandworm painting that I actually did in kind of a graffiti style.
Yeah.
Because the girl that I did it for, like at one point in our friendship, had talked about how cool graffiti art was. So I kind of incorporated that into her love of Tim Burton. And then I just kind of squished it all together and then got that fancy looking sandworm. So
nice.
So that's what I did this week.
I've been trying to work on some digital stuff. I've been really trying to do a bunch of Halloween things because season's coming and I'm ready. Like I've already been to the store like a bunch of times. I already bought a bunch of Halloween decorations and I'm ready. What about you, Russell?
I have been working on dynamic character poses. I've sent y'all a few of those of the things that I was working on, which has been amazing and super fun. Like doing it in short bursts helps me not get so frustrated. I'm learning a lot about proportion with people not an anatomical position, but yeah, like having different angles and positions of people and exploring that. That's been a lot of fun, and just continuing working on my book and hopefully just plugging away at that because it takes forever.
All right, guys, keep making art, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.
Bye. Hit a button.
Why?
Hit the button.
Why? Put my fingers over the button. You want me to touch the button?
You should touch the button.
I do.
Touch the button. Touch
I really
the
want you to touch the button.
Oh, I have to hit it twice.
Hi everyone! Thanks for listening to the Fanbrush Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. You can find us on Instagram at fanbrush.podcast. Until next time, keep creating. Bye!